Welcome back to UFC Ninja. Here's a peek at last week's betting results to get you ready for the Ninja's breakdown on the next card.
Yeah, guys, welcome back. It's the Ninja. So, the last pay-per-view there, we did Islam versus Volkanovski, and my producer throw up our bets on there on the DraftKings lineups. I did pretty good. I can only do the fantasy here from my phone, but I had 4 different lineups. It says I entered 52, and I won 150. So I guess I thought I maybe doubled up. Maybe I did triple up. I don't know, but I had my producer put the rest of our bets up that we made on Bovada there. And I'm excited to get into this week here. We got Jones versus Gane. I'm hoping it's going to go through. So grab your favorite drink, grab your favorite pipe, grab your favorite gummy, and let's get into this thing. All right, guys. Next up, we should have a pretty good scrap here. We got Farid, Ferocious, Basharat versus Daman, the Monster, Blackshear. So this one, there's a couple things that oppose each other from each guy that are going to be important, I think, in this fight. Farid, he's got a Taekwondo background. He's got an older brother in the UFC. Came from the Contender Series. Dude's got a high fight IQ. He's got good cornermen, in my opinion. They're chilled out, nice and calm. And he's also got good cardio, especially continued throughout the third round. And the way that Farid also uses his energy is to stay on top in any sort of scramble positions. So, it's really important in this fight because Daman Blackshear, who, he's got some jiu-jitsu, but the thing is with him is that he gives up his back, gives up, control on the ground and winds up on his back and doesn't really fight for that position at all, compared to Farid, who does the opposite. And then, against Zalal, Daman Blackshear just got taken down the first round and just, pretty much gave up, ended up flat on his back almost right away. And it's like, you can't do that, especially against Farid, who's coming in here with precision and on a mission, to be champion. And, Daman's good in the first round. He's quick. He's strong. He's got a good guillotine. And his corner work is nothing really specific. They're just trying to tell him to go out there and get him. So that's also opposed to the good corner work of Farid. And Daman doesn't really have any cardio after the second round compared to Farid. The third round will probably go all, Basharat in this one. So Daman just going to be hanging out on his back. I feel like the control is going to come all from Farid for this one. And maybe Farid's going to just win by decision. And if there was one special thing I seen from Daman, it was like, he tried some leg locks. And Farid was in a little bit of a leg lock against Bagasso there on the Contender Series. So if there's some sort of like special bet for Daman Blackshear by leg lock, for plus 2,000, you can take that. But otherwise, I think Farid is going to win this one by decision pretty easily. So that's all I got for this one, guys. Good luck to you if you got any other thoughts or bets on this one. All right, next up we got Mana Boy, Martinez versus Cameron, MSP, Saaiman. So this is a tough one to make a pick on, in my opinion. Just looking at it right away, Mana's going to have a little bit of height and reach on Cameron, and he likes to use that reach and his movement and be elusive and stay long. And, I feel like Mana has had a lot of different sparring opponents and spent a lot of hours sparring, playing with different things, and he's got a lot of little games and tricks he likes to play in there. And he's pretty good at slipping punches, and he's got good cardio for the first 2 rounds, but then he kind of starts to fade. And he did end up on his back in the end of the fight with Brandon Davis in his last fight, just for the last 30 seconds or whatever, but still not really a good look. But he does look pretty good for the first 2 rounds. And then Cameron on the other side, he just fought Kozlo, a super grappler that had all submissions and, wasn't UFC level yet. But Cameron wasn't afraid to grapple with him at all and actually went for some grappling of his own and wasn't afraid to strike. I like his striking. I liked his pad work that I've seen. His coaches look pretty good there in the striking department. And when he lands, it actually shows, too. He's actually been knocking people out in the third round. And it's, due to some of that, I'm assuming. But with that in mind, and Mana fading in that third round, I feel like there's a bet there with Cameron in the third round finish. I'm not sure what any of the odds are in this yet. I'm trying to get this out early, but that's something to look at. And then with the wrestling of Cameron, he's going to be, I feel like, maybe going for more takedowns than we might expect here. And especially in the third round, if it's still going, Mana's going to be trying to get him out of there. But Cameron is pretty good. It might come down to us checking out some of Cameron's defense and seeing what it's like in this one for somebody that's a little bit better striker like Mana, and how he deals with some of the games that Mana's trying to do and play and set him up there with the hand movements and stuff. So, Cameron's going to have a little bit shorter and going to have to get on the inside to get his hits in. So it'll be cool to see this fight here to see what happens. But I'm really thinking maybe Mana by decision, because he might just win the first 2 rounds and lose the third. Otherwise, I'd take maybe Cameron by finish, or, third round finish, if you want to be really fucking specific. But that's all I got in this one, boys. Good luck to you if you got any other bets on this one. All right, we got Ian, the future, Garry versus Kenan, the assassin, Song, the Chinaman, Garry, the Irishman. So this fight, I'm just going to get right into it as usual, guys. I see they're both kind of like counter strikers. So I feel like, Ian, he's got more elusiveness and more movement and circling around in the octagon. And, Song's just a little bit tighter, more flat-footed. And, I feel like Kenan Song's style that he learned is more of a defensive style, where someone needs to strike first, always for him to block or, do some sort of muscle memory and then strike after that. So it's hard for him to lead the striking exchanges. And he even talks about that in this interview that I was watching, or about how he's trying to get better at that. But, that's really hard to do when you've been learning in muscle memory all this stuff, for a long time. You're basically trying to unlearn it, which is, pretty difficult, and at the same time, fights against itself. So anyways, with Ian in this one, I feel like it's going to be a really good first round for both these guys. I feel it's going to be really close. But then Ian's going to kind of figure him out and be more elusive and be more able to counter-strike, even when maybe Song's not actually punching yet, but he's just kind of trying to move forward into the pocket range. And Ian's going to recognize that and be able to bounce in and out a little bit more and pop on Song. If not, get rid of Song, maybe just, win by decision, because, Song could be pretty good, but he throws all power strikes, and I feel like, Ian might get hit with a couple in the first round, and that is, I think where Kenan Song could win is by round 1 TKO, but that's it. I think after that, Garry's going to be elusive enough and picking away at him, and maybe even be able to put Song away, because we've seen his chin kind of collapse a few times. And then, Song's reach is only 71.5, and when Ian Garry fought Jordan's reach was like 74 inches, I think it was, and that's what, Ian's reach is. So that was his most difficult fight. He fought Jordan Williams, and I feel like it's not going to be as bad in this fight. He's going to be able to have the reach advantage also, and that's going to be pretty good advantage for him in this fight. It's snow falling off the roof out there. But, yeah, for that one, that's it. I'm going to go with Ian, Garry in this one, and if anything, there's a possibility for Song in round 1 by TKO. All right, next up we got Julian, the Cuban Missile Crisis, Marquez versus Marc-André, Powerbar, Barriault. This fight, man, a little bit lower level fight here. Both these guys are pretty slow. They don't have a lot of head movement, neither of them. They both don't have super powerful punches, just kind of heavy because of how heavy of guys they are. The kicking, both of them is not all that great. Cuban Missile Crisis, he got knocked out by Gregory Rodriguez in his last fight, man. And, I'll have my producer throw up a little footage of him at the end of that fight. He's just throwing wild like a barbarian, from the woods. And just not going to win any fights that way. And he's just huge looping punches, and he just doesn't have any real defense. I mean, he just gets hit. He doesn't move his head or block any punches or do any slips, nothing. And for the power bar, on the other hand, he doesn't have a lot of head movement either, and his kicks aren't all that great. And against Hernandez, looked like he got his rib broke or something there, but his wrestling's halfway technical, the stuff that he does, so he could win like the technical grappling wrestling exchanges in this fight, but I feel like this is just going to be a sloppy big fight. And there's one punch I seen the power bar. I'll have my producer throw this up too, versus Hernandez. Man, he's just standing there. And it's a freaking first round still, and the dude's whipping punches for Hernandez, and the dude's not even there. He's gone. He's just in there like he's shadow boxing inside the octagon during a fight. I'm like, what the fuck? So I don't know if he has eyes closed, dude, just swinging for the win, but I mean, it's not what you want to be doing when you're in there. So I just don't see this fight doing too much. I feel like it's just going to go the distance, and I feel like it's going to be really close. I feel like I'm leaning towards this fight being my producer's draw of the week. So that's all I got for this one, guys, and good luck to you. All right, next up, we got another bit of a tough one here. We got Derek Brunson versus Dricus, Still Knocks, Duplessis. So Still Knocks, he's pretty amped up coming off some wins. Super momentum for South Africa. Dude's got a lot of energy with him. We did see him fight Till and get the third round submission. Rear naked choke, which he's got a few of them on his record, but Still Knocks went to the grappling with Till. Then it was like a 50-50 back and forth battle most of that fight. So we also seen Brunson, on the other hand, fight Till, and he got him down in the first round with one takedown and held Till down the rest of the round and ended up, pounding out Till pretty good throughout that fight. So I feel like when we know where Dricus's grappling is, and we see Brunson's is definitely going to be above it. And Brunson's ability to hold Till down was pretty good. So if Brunson can hold Duplessis down here, this could be a long night for Duplessis. But Brunson does stand for a good bit in the first round and every round that starts standing and before he does a takedown. So, he's really slow to react, and Duplessis is really quick, and he does do a lot of crashing attacks. And if Brunson just sits there, we could see Duplessis land one of those shots and, knock Brunson out pretty cold in the first round or the beginning of any one of these rounds. Otherwise Brunson could just get the takedown and hold Duplessis down, kind of wear him out for most of the rounds, and either get a submission or maybe a decision if it comes to that. Otherwise, I think we see Duplessis winning by TKO in this one. That's his way to victory, and Brunson by maybe sub. So it's kind of a tough one to call, but Duplessis by TKO and Brunson by sub, or his ground and pound is pretty good, but I feel like if he does get Duplessis on the ground enough, he could get an arm trapped or something like that and sneak in a rear naked choke on Duplessis himself and just get the choke out, because I guess it could depend on the referee too, and how far they let it go and what happens, but Duplessis doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would maybe get TKO'd by ground and pound. Maybe he seems like a guy to get more submitted by a sneaky hand sneaking in there, when he's trying to defend punches, something more like that. But that's just my opinion on that. And so if I were to bet that, like I said, I'd do Duplessis by TKO or Brunson by submission, or just the fight doesn't go the distance. But again, I don't know the odds yet on any of this stuff. They're not out yet, so good luck to you if you have any bets or predictions on this one, boys. All right, we got Cody, No Love, Garbrandt versus Trevin, 5-star Jones. This one, I think it's going to be a little bit of a slugfest for the first round or two. And after the first two rounds, I think they both could be pretty tired. Maybe Trevin just clinches him against the fence in the third round. But I don't know if I really see this one going over 2 rounds. I feel like maybe there's going to be a TKO finish in the first round or two. Cody's got pretty good technique, movement, a lot of hand fakes. And Trevin, he really just fakes with his feet. He's just super quick with his hands, and he's been catching guys all the way up to this level, he's got decent wrestling. So I think in this one, it's going to say one guy's going to KO the other guy in the first 2 rounds. And, they're both kind of counter strikers, so it's going to be, I think maybe Cody that's pressuring Trevin. He just naturally pressures a little more than Trevin. Trevin gets pressured easier, so feel like if anything, maybe it's going to be Cody that gets the TKO in the first round. And then second round could be 50-50, and then third round maybe goes to Trevin. But that's about all I got in this one. They're both coming off a couple losses and getting older, so good luck to you on your other thoughts or bets on this one, boys. Alright guys, welcome to the dojo. This is the mixed martial arts story of the week. If you're new here, we do this every week, so stay tuned. But this one takes place, man, I wonder geographically if we should give this place away, but let's just say it's a bar on a lake. Maybe I'll have my producer just blank out some of the areas, all the names, and we can just give you the layout, but it really doesn't matter. And it's an event center, and this particular event center in the upstairs area, we were celebrating a wedding reception, and this was like in my town where my high school was in this town. And anyway, at this point, we had not even lived in this town yet. I think we were living in a different town out in the boonies, and I was only 8 years old or something. My producer, I just called him. He's probably out fishing, and I didn't get a hold of him, but he'll put in there what year this took place. He'll know, and he'll know how old I was at this point also, and he'll put my age in there. But there's no way I was over 10 years old here. But so I was pretty young, and I was up at the head table, like saying hi or talking to the bride. Yes, it would have been the bride, and her name was Tammy. Really nice lady, and she was always really nice to me and like the other kids, but she was like pretty special lady. She was like super nice to me all the time, and always made sure to ask me like how I was doing and what was new, and like asked me about my sports and stuff all the time, even though I only saw this lady like at the Christmas and like once or twice in the summertime. So like 1 to 3 times a year I'd see her, but she's a great aunt and always asking about stuff, like, treated me like an adult, which is pretty rare. That's those are cool adults that know that kids are smarter than they are. And anyway, I was up there talking to her for some reason, or up there, and I'm pretty sure I was the only kid up there, and there happens to be a door that goes outside into the hallway between the head table and the rest of the area there with all the tables, and that's where like the dance floor was and stuff too, like right out from that door, I should say. And outside of that is like some doors, I think, that go like with some steps out to the sidewalk. And anyway, man, I was up there, and all I remember is these 2 big guys coming through that door and into this reception area and yelling something about Tammy or something, and it was like I don't know, by the end of it I found out that it was like one of her ex-boyfriends or something. Somehow they found out she was getting married upstairs. There's like a bar downstairs. Maybe somebody found out somehow. Anyway, these guys came barging in there trying to like interrupt her wedding, and man, it was fucking chaos. I don't remember exactly what happened on with who did what specifically, but I mean, when we get to like 1,000 subscribers, I'm gonna start over on these stories and give you some clean ass details on them. But it was a lot of my family in there and these 2 stranger dudes. And anyway, I remember just trying to get out of the way. It was kind of, there's some shit taking place right away, and one of these dudes, like right next to me, somebody tackled him into the wall, and the sheetrock, went all in right around this guy's body, like almost put him through into the hallway. And I was like, just barely slipped out of the way of like this guy pushing this guy backwards into the wall. I think I was like up on the step a little bit there, like up by the head table or something, so I could slip out of the way. But man, the guy smashed him into the sheetrock. I don't remember what happened to the other guy. Either he got pushed out in the hallway by somebody else or somebody, but I know my cousin's a lot older than me, and he'll remember the sequence of events and who did what in this if I ask him. So, I'll get a hold of him at some point too. But these dudes came in and tried to crash the wedding anyways, and one of them got crashed through the wall instantly by somebody there at the wedding, and then I think the other guy got like pushed into. From what I remember, he got like pushed into the hallway by like two other dudes that were part of the wedding. Like almost instantly or something, and then I don't remember what happened after that, but it was like pretty slow. I think that dude that got pushed in the sheetrock, dude, he might have taken a couple of rights and lefts after that. Like I think I kind of tried to look away, and I jumped down and like ran back to find my dad. I was like, holy shit, fight's taking place. I better like get behind my dad. That was my immediate thought. So after that, I just ran. But yeah, those dudes got lit up. They were probably pretty lit up on liquor too when they popped in there. So anyway, that's the story of the week. Just give you a little bit of laugh for the week on that story because I don't remember much about it. But like I said, someday we'll revisit that and I'll give you a bunch of details. But no worries for now. It just goes to show you don't be barging on somebody else's party. Alright, this next fight we got Jamie, the Nightwolf, Pickett versus Bo, the wrestler, Nickal. So, Pickett, the Nightwolf, man, I just looking at his last couple fights, I'm like, dude, maybe he should be like the good Nightwolf. Dude's been slapped in the last 2 fights. And, for this fight, I was just looking to actually have odds for it this early, and it was minus 1,600 for Bo Nickal and plus 800 for Pickett. And Pickett, he's just not very threatening on the feet. I think that's the whole thing. And, we know Bo Nickal's got the wrestling coming in here. So I think with the wrestling of Nickal, he's going to be able to just dominate Pickett. Pickett makes bad decisions all around, and Bo Nickal's going to be able to control the shit out of Pickett and probably submit him or get some strikes. And even if it goes to a decision, I think Bo Nickal could just get this by decision. But there's probably not a whole lot here for bets or anything else, but you could take Bo Nickal by submission. But I'm gonna stay away from this fight probably, except for maybe a DraftKings lineup. I think it's going to be maybe important to take Bo Nickal because he could just get an early first round finish, depending on what Pickett's night's looking like. He usually gets knocked out, but I think like he got submitted by Dricus, and just shows that he's pretty weak. And he'll allow Bo Nickal, who's very strong and dominant, to actually finish him, in my opinion. So yeah, I will take Bo Nickal to get the finish here inside the distance. But like I said, it's hard to bet on him, and probably be good in like a DraftKings, little 1 week, the fantasy lineups where you pick 6 guys. You'll probably score a lot of points with a first round finish. So that's all my thoughts on this one, boys. Good luck to you. All right, next up we got Mateusz, Gamrot versus Jalin, the Tarantula, Turner. This should be a decent fight here. Gamrot, he instantly goes for takedowns. So, as far as the DraftKings lineup, this guy's going to be good for that. Against Turner's never been submitted. He has been taken down quite a bit. And against Malarkey, I'll have my producer throw up some footage here. He got like double-legged cleanly, and like Malarkey was even grabbing one of his kicks before that, and Turner was still just standing straight up. Stands too tall, and Malarkey took advantage of that, just took him right down. And I feel like Gamrot could do that, and Gamrot could grab any of his kicks. Turner throws these kicks, but they're not like 100%. So this may be a bad habit for him there, and like Gamrot's going to take advantage of that and use him to get him down if he doesn't just double leg him and spear him to the ground. Gamrot's got good grappling, and he'd probably be able to hold Turner down, keep Turner on his back, or, if he's able to mount Turner, could be trouble. Turner's got a decent guard, so he could keep Gamrot off of him for a while, maybe all 3 rounds. But if Gamrot maybe can wear him out and get a submission on him, that would be Turner's first loss by sub. But I feel like Gamrot's going to be a lot better there with the grappling, and his striking defense is pretty bad. So we could see Turner get a TKO, but I think he would only have the energy in round 1 or 2. I think in round 3 it's going to be all Gamrot if it's still going, and Gamrot's going to control that. So I'd say like Gamrot's going to either win by decision or a submission, And, then Turner's going to win by TKO round 1 or 2, if anything. And obviously maybe that's how you guys are seeing it too, but clearly, Gamrot's just a grappler, but it's a tough one to call because Gamrot's pretty hittable, and, he gets hit. He doesn't really have any head movement. He just kind of has a couple of 1-2 punches that are pretty decent, but he can't stand in there and bang and slip and move, and he goes right to the grappling, and that could be trouble for Turner too. So Turner could just end up on his back trying to get him off him the whole time. So I see Gamrot coming out on top in this one by decision or submission. There's a small chance that Turner could get him in round 1 or 2 with a TKO. But that's my opinion on this one, boys. Good luck to you on your bets. All right, next up, we get my favorite fight on the card, man. Geoff, Hands of Steel, Neil versus Shavkat, Nomad, Rachmanov. And these guys, when I think about like the way these guys were born, I feel like, Shavkat, I feel like he was born like on top of a mountain, and then he just stayed there and was trained in martial arts, and people brought him food and water and shit, and he was just up there and slapped and did martial arts. And then and Geoff Neal, I feel like, maybe if he would have been born in Chicago, maybe he would have been like one of those babies that got put in one of the baby boxes, and then they hit the button, and then they come pick up the baby at the end of the alleyway or whatever. But just and then whoever took him out of the box, maybe like started teaching Geoff Neal some boxing, and that's how he got to the UFC. But anyway, realistically, man, when I look at these guys, I'm looking at like the Nomad. He's on a run. He's pretty good striking and kicking, and on the ground he's really good. He's pretty aggressive, and Geoff Neal, he kind of has the ability to get pushed back. So for the Nomad, that could be good for him, and he's really good along the fence. And Geoff Neal, like I said, he backs up and could have his back to the fence. And he was able to get Luque out of there. Geoff Neal knocked him out, but that's because Luque is like a pocket fighter, and I feel like the Nomad more fights out on the outside, kind of like when Geoff Neal fought Neil Magny, Stephen Thompson, Kevin Holland. He lost all those fights, and he had a split decision versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, and the Nomad's going to be kind of a little bit longer like that, and on the outside he's got a 77-inch reach compared to Geoff's 75, and then he's 6'1", and Geoff Neal's 5'11". So he's got a little bit there, but the Nomad, I think he's going to try to take Geoff down and maybe finish him on the ground. So I think I would take the Nomad, by decision or finish. The only chance I really see Geoff Neal having is like a round 1 TKO where he can jump in with one of his shots far enough to hit the Nomad. The Nomad is a little bit hittable there. In my opinion, he just kind of stays back and tries to watch stuff, I feel like, instead of maybe being more of a big movement and slipping and stuff like that. So I think he's just going to try to get it to the ground and avoid, Geoff's Hands of Steel. And I don't think Geoff's going to be able to connect with him because of him being on the outside like that. And I think maybe Geoff's going to end up on his back. So that's just what I'm feeling for this one. And I'm kind of excited. I like the Nomad, so I hope he does push through here and get the victory and finish Geoff Neal. But nothing against Geoff Neal. I like him too. He seems like a pretty decent guy. And, Geoff Neal's corner, they were yelling at him and shit. I think it was his last fight, but a few fights ago. And they were all right. I mean, he just kind of looked at him one time and, rolled his eyes at his coach. And it's like, dude, I'm trying, So interesting there, I think the Nomad maybe has a little more connection with his corner work too. So that could be better too for his trajectory. So whatever, I'm going to go with the Nomad anyways, guys, and good luck on your bets or thoughts on this one. All right, guys, main event, we got Jon Little Bones Jones versus Ciryl Gane gone. And now that Francis is gone or vacant for the moment here, we got Jones, who crawled off from underneath the cage and said he'll fight. But he'll fight Ciryl, not Francis. So, it's kind of like back in the day when I remember when Tim Sylvia took the belt, and I think it was heavyweight, and they're like, oh man, nobody can beat Tim Sylvia. He's tall, strong, couldn't take him down, ranged everybody out, and everybody was like, oh, he's going to be champion forever. And, Randy Couture was like, you guys kidding me? Fuck that. He came back right away out of retirement, and Randy Couture moved up to heavyweight, I think it was, to fight him, or light heavyweight, I forget now, and fucking KO'd Tim Sylvia from being a shorter guy, so, excuse me. That just goes to show you that fucking Randy Couture ain't no bitch, and he's never hit underneath no fucking cage.
Randy's coming out of retirement because he thinks I'm 30. I'm in my prime. He's out of his prime.
All right, gentlemen, you're given your instructions in your dresses. Go back to your corners. Let's go.
Big John McCarthy, our referee.
That's what's amazing about Randy Couture,
Yeah.
That right? That's what's amazing about him.
How about when Randy dropped Tim Sylvia, that inside
right?
low kick?
Oh, that was the greatest fight I've ever saw.
You're like, what?
That was like the greatest fight I've ever saw for a guy to come back and get that belt.
And Tim was so big,
right?
Tim was a giant. He was
Tim
a huge
was a
guy.
giant, and
remember when
he'd
he
go
knocked out
with
Rico?
his belt everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Jones is going to come back here and he's going to fight Ciryl, the second best. And Cyryl's got short legs, lots of movement, kickboxing stance, and, pretty good cardio for the heavyweight, of course. But he's mostly a counter striker, and he, backs up some. So with Jon, he could easily pressure a little bit more than Ciryl could. So I think he's going to maybe be the one that's pressuring a little bit. And the hand fight is going to be huge between these two. Both of them are going to be with their lead hand, trying to figure out who's going to win that battle. With the kicks, I think they're both pretty good with their front leg. They can both kick with their front leg pretty well. Like a lot of other people, like Dominic Reyes and stuff, had to use his back leg. They do the same kind of kicks that Jon could do with his front, with power-wise. So these guys are both pretty good with their lead leg. And Jon's durable. His cardio is probably gonna be pretty good. He's just gonna be walking around a little bit heavier, and apparently a lot heavier if he's been putting on more weight. But his wrestling's really good, and Jon showed that he can get taken down pretty easily, and Jon could win the fight even if he just gets control time standing up and on the ground. And Jon's pretty good usually with the pressure late and early, so I think Jon's durable enough to take some of Cyryl's shots, and Cyryl's not aggressive enough to really capitalize on anything. That's just my opinion there. So I think that's the way this is going to go. I think, I'd take Jones by decision. But that's all I got on this one, man. It's too bad it's not going to be Francis. Maybe it will be in the future. We'll get to see Jon Jones and Francis. But, then there's going to be questions. Oh, he's old, this and that, and third. So, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I got Jon Jones to win this one by decision. All right, you guys know what time it is. You can break down the kicks, you can break down the punches, you can break down the stats, but at the end of the day, you got to break down the bets. And they got some odds out here already on some of these fights, but, man, they're all pretty terrible odds. They're so one-sided. So I think this week maybe I'll try to stick to, props on what I'm thinking, and I'll just kind of recap what I told you guys throughout the podcast there. I'm thinking the first fight, Cody versus Trevin, is under 2 rounds. And Ian Garry versus Song, I think Ian Garry moneyline or Song round 1 KO. Cameron, I'm thinking maybe a 3rd round finish or, Mana by decision. I'm thinking Dricus by TKO or Brunson by sub. Marquez versus Barriault. I think that might go to a draw. That's my producer's favorite bet of the week. We're going to make that bet for a draw this week. And then also, I think that fight goes the distance. We'll probably make that bet as well. And then Farid by decision. I do like that bet quite a bit, or just Farid. I don't know what the odds are going to be on him, but I do like him quite a bit. I think he's kind of my favorite of the week. And otherwise, I got Shavkat, money line. Rachmanov by money line, or Neal round 1 KO. I think that's a possibility there. That could be some good odds on that too. So just round 1 KO for Neal. And then Bo Nickal by sub possibly, depending on the odds on that. Might not be any good. It might be shit. And then Johnny Bones by decision is the only other thing. So those are all things I'm thinking. Really, I just kind of think Farid right now, money line, and not much else. But I think I might do a DraftKings lineup video this week too. So stick around if you're into the DraftKings shit. Otherwise, good luck to my other boys this week, and let's win some more money. All right, till next week, guys. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. Keep it real.